Hello, my name is Richard Rousseau, and I decided to post a video clip about the woman and the dragon as can be seen in the stars regarding Revelation 12. And you might ask, why would I do this again? Because there's so many clips about this already, and the reason is that most clips only cover verse 1 and 2. So yeah, in January 2017 I made an amazing discovery, and I found that I can almost show you all the verses in the stars. So what I'm going to do now is just start and give you a background what all the other clips are basically saying, and from there I will continue. So Revelation 12 starts the woman and the dragon. A great sign appeared in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon. She's clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. So before I can give you the revelation of all the verses, I need to give you some background information, and I just want to put the following to your attention. So if you go on the internet, the church currently understands that 1260 days equals 42 months, or it's 3.5 years, and a lot of times the Bible refers to this period of a time, times, and a half a time. So for now, I'm just going to point out the three most important dates as can be seen in Revelation 12. The constellations in the stars start off with Saturday, the 23rd of September 2017. And then Revelation talks about an enormous red dragon that appeared, that want to devour the newborn child, and that she was kept in the wilderness for 1260 days. So which then takes us to the 6th of March 2021. So I'm going to go around this area and show you how the stars look then. And then I think the dragon was thrown down to the ground, and then you get another dragon that's pursuing the woman, and she was taken care of for a time, times, and a half a time out of the reach of the serpent. And that will take you to 17th August 2024. So these are the main dates regarding Revelation 12, and as I said, I'm going to show you how the stars play out the story when you go to these dates. So to be able to understand the full story in the stars, I'm going to just give you a couple of how I interpret some of the planets and some of the constellations. So obviously the first one is Virgo, and Virgo in Latin is the name for virgin, and see, this is very obvious. Let's look at the next one. Above the head you will find Leo. So all I want to maybe point out now about it, that it has 9 stars, which is above the head of the woman. Later on in the verses I'm going to refer you to the Libra constellation, and I want to say that Libra is going to represent God, okay? And the reason is Libra has been associated with law, fairness, and civility, okay? Capricornus, I'm going to link to the Antichrist, and the reason I'm going to do this is that in Latin it refers to the horned goat, okay? And I would also like to refer you to Daniel's vision about the ram and the goat. So I quickly would like to read Daniel 8. I saw it attack the ram furiously, striking the ram and shattering its 2 horns. It grew until it reached the host of heavens, and it threw some of the starry hosts down to the earth. I'm going to get back to this later. And trampled on them. It set itself up to be as great as the commander of the army of the Lord. It took away the daily sacrifice from the Lord, and his sanctuary was torn down. I would also like to put your attention to Matthew 25. It says that God will separate the sheep from the goats. Then the constellation Taurus, I've already before linked to Islam, and if you go to this website here, they just said something. Another symbol of Venus also found its way into Islam, the horns of the bull of heaven. And as I said, Islam is thus linked to the horns of the bull. So then if we look at the planet Jupiter, I'm going to say that in my story it's going to first of all represent God, and then maybe Jesus. So you will see that Jupiter enters the woman, and I would say that is God that is impregnating the woman, and when the woman gives birth, it gives birth to a child. So whenever you see Jupiter, it's the god of the sky and lightning. And in Wikipedia, they even show you this picture of a man with, maybe you can call it an iron scepter. So basically, I'm going to mostly follow the planet Jupiter, and you'll see the amazing role that Jupiter plays in this whole story when you look at the stars. Then I'm also going to be showing you the planet Mars, and I'm going to follow the planet Mars a little bit. Now, from all the planets, Mars is associated with water. So I just want to read you quickly here over Wikipedia. More than 5 million cubic kilometers of ice has been identified at or near the surface of modern Mars, enough to cover the whole planet to the depth of 35 meters. So when we read in Revelation 12 about the spitting of water, we're going to follow the planet Mars. So what I'm going to do now is read a few verses at a time from Revelation 12, and then I'm going to show you it in the star program. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant and carried out in pain as she was about to give birth. So when I installed Stellarium, it took me a while to figure out that you have to switch off the atmosphere. And to understand this revelation completely, it is very, very important that you first set your location, okay? Because the Bible and the revelation is about Jerusalem and Israel. So secondly, as I said, this was not my discovery. I'm going to go to the date, I think it's the 23rd of September. So the next thing that we have to do, you have to switch on the constellation lines. And then I would like to see the constellation labels, and I would like to see the artwork of the constellations. And I don't want to see meteorite showers, and yes, I want to see the planet labels. Okay, so now this is the view that you will get when you stand in Jerusalem and you look up at the sky at this time, at this date. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that sort of in the middle and zoom a bit. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you what everyone has shown you about Jupiter. So now I've set the object to Jupiter. I'm going to make it the center. And now, as I said, on the date, on the 23rd of September, Jupiter has just exited the womb of Virgo. So let's just jump a few months back. There, the 8th month is in the womb. It's in the womb. And now we have to take away the Earth so we can follow Jupiter. It's still the 6 months is in the womb, in the womb, in the womb. And you'll see Jupiter is like turning inside the womb. And around here, I don't know exact date, you can see Jupiter has entered the womb and has apparently stayed 9 months inside the womb. So Jupiter, which represents a god, so what I want to say is God has impregnated the woman, and now around this time it is exiting the woman through the legs of this constellation, and so it's giving birth to a son. What is also interesting, if you look at this constellation, it only happens on this day. It's the only time when there are 12 stars above the woman's head, and the moon is at her feet. Also note, I believe it's full moon at her feet on that day, and she's clothed with the sun. Now right here I want to add something. When everyone says she's clothed with the sun, it seemed to me that there was something wrong. There was something missing, that I could get a better interpretation of clothed with the sun. Clothed with the sun for me means that you can only see her in the daytime. So if I go back to the morning, as the sun in Jerusalem is rising at the east, with the sun the woman is rising. So now on the date, I'm just going through the day, and I'm showing you right through the day. She has the 12 crowns around her head. The moon is at her feet, and the sun is there. So if I move the hours, obviously I believe here around 12 o'clock, she's right at the top, and then she sets with the sun. So if you now go to the next day, night and day, you will now see that the moon has moved away from her feet. And let's go back to around 12 o'clock again. So now I can show you around the days. Look how the planets are moving away now, and there's no more crown of 12 at a top. So as someone else has shown, this formation only happens once in every 7,000 years. So yeah, on the 21st the sun is there, there's no moon. On the 22nd the moon is coming, and on the 23rd the moon is at a feet. On the 24th the moon is gone again. So this is the only time when this conformation is happening in the stars. Now I just want to say, I believe the key for me to that I could understand the other things, because the woman is closed with the sun, this was a key ingredient in understanding the other verses, is that I believe obviously it will be best to look at the constellations not on an hourly basis, but always to look at it at a fixed time. And since she's closed with the sun, I trying to look at the constellation exactly around 12 o'clock. So each day now, if I look at the constellations at 12 o'clock, you can see the movements at that time, or you can move months. But always when she's closed with the sun, when the sun is right at the top, was the key to understanding this. And this is the other key. You can't just look at stars anywhere. You have to stand in Jerusalem, else you will never get the rest of the revelations. Okay, so let's continue to verse 3 now. Verse 3 says, "Then another sign appeared in the heaven." I just want to indicate here that everything that are in blue is I can show you in the stars. The things though that are in red I will cover I can't show you that in the stars. So there's a lot of blue. If I go through the scriptures here, you'll see there's a lot of blue and there's some red. So I'm going to skip the red because the red will be my own interpretation. So verse 3, "Another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns is on a head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so that it might devour her child the moment he was born." So verse 3, as I said, so verse 2 ended, she was pregnant and she was about to give birth. So verse 3 is, "Then another sign appeared in heaven." So we're going to go to this date and we're going to look at another sign that is going to appear in heaven. So let me show you that. So first we want to go back here to the 23rd. And around 12 o'clock we are at Jerusalem. So let's go a few days on. And the another information about where it is that the dragon stood in front of the woman. So we're looking for a new sign that's appearing that are in front of the woman. Okay, so there is the woman. So we're going to look around here. I'm just going to move this like that. Maybe zoom a bit out. If you go on a couple of days now, you will see almost about a month or so later that look what is appearing now right in front of the woman. The constellation of Capricornus. Okay. So I figured out that you know, the moon is not here on the 24th is the first time that Capricornus has completely went above the horizon of Jerusalem, and now it's fully seen, and also at that date the moon. So I'm just saying what is happening now is that the beast has appeared. Now if I zoom, if you look at the woman, look what the verse is saying here. Okay, another sign appeared. A dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth, so she's just given birth, so that it might devour her child. So let's quickly, the moment he was born, so let's quickly look at the devouring of the child. But basically I want to show that Jupiter is slowly but surely moving exactly in the direction of Capricornus. So if Jupiter wasn't stopped, it will eventually hit Capricornus, and at this moment it says it will be devoured by, the child was just born, it's still weak and small. And the other thing about Capricornus, it's rising. It's coming from the horizon of the earth, and you can see Capricornus is rising. So what does the Bible says happens next? So let's go to verse 5. Okay, she gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all nations with an iron scepter. Now, from now on, Jupiter is going to represent the Son of God, and I want to go to the constellation of Libra, which is the scales, as I showed you earlier, and for me that now represent God. So I'm going to show you how Jupiter goes into God and to his throne, and then it disappears. So it's like Libra is snatching up the sun, and it's hiding it. So let me just show you that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put Jupiter as the center of everything again. There is the dragon, and as Jupiter is moving that way, it goes, look at the days, goes here into Libra, Jupiter, and there's Mars, and what happens now? It's still in Libra, and now it disappears out of view. Now the dragon, the child has been hidden, and then something very interesting happened. If you keep on following it, and I take the Earth away, you will see that Jupiter, let's just see what it has. I'm going to go forward. Jupiter suddenly stops there. It doesn't continue on its path. It is now hidden below the horizon, and it just stays there. And okay, so basically what I'm saying, the child was snatched up to God and to his throne. So it's protected by that, and the dragon can't see it anymore. So what happened next? Verse 6. The woman fled into the wilderness to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. Let me just show you how the woman fled into the wilderness. Okay. Let's put that back on. If we go back to our date, 23rd. Let's find the woman. And please note that at the moment the woman, is right at the top there. Okay, she's and for me it's just the indication. If you go on through the days, she's reached a height, and from here on she's diving. I would say she's fleeing to the horizon where she can be hidden, and she goes away. And the same as with Jupiter and with Libra, as the days goes on, the woman is fleeing into the wilderness, and now the woman can't be seen on the horizon either. So as I said, the dragon won't know where the woman is, so she has fled into the wilderness. So all I did here was showing that the woman was at the top at the 23rd September 2017, and here 11th January 2018 is about when she's about to go down. But these are just my own dates, might not mean anything, but this is the period why she's fleeing, and then she's completely away in the wilderness. So very important now, she has been in the wilderness, she's been taken care of for 1,260 days. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go forward 1,260 days now, which will take us to Saturday the 6th of March 2021, so that we can interpret the rest of the verses. So let's do that. 2021, and we go here to the 6th. Okay, what does the Bible say? What must we look for now? Let's go back. Then, that's after, so we're now at the 6th of March 2021. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, the ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who lead the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Okay, so looking for Capricornus, so we're now at the right date. Let's just do a search here. Capricornus, click on it. Okay, there is Capricornus on the date. Remember, this is the date when the woman comes out of the wilderness. It means the dragon has already been defeated. Very interested, there is Jupiter again. So this is the date. So let's just go back a couple of days and see what has happened. Let's follow Jupiter. I'm just going backwards now. Let's just make this center of the thing. Now notice this, I'm just now a couple of months before. Capricornus is still rising, it's still going higher. Then now Jupiter, which represents the Son of God, is now at, but now it's grown up, it's older, it's strong, it's no more a baby. So now it can actually wage war against this. So look what happens. So here around this date, Jupiter is hitting the Capricornus as it is at its height. And look now how, as it's entering it like a bullet, it starts to nose dive down to the earth, and it's falling. So look how Jupiter is going right through Capricornus like a bullet. Okay, and as it's going through, Capricornus is falling to the earth. Capricornus is falling on the earth, and now it was dragged to the ground. Okay. So I just prepared a slideshow to show you. It seems like around the 14th of January 2021, Jupiter hits the Capricornus line for the first time. It's right here at the top. Then the date that the Bible says where the woman is coming out, because the dragon has been killed or slaughtered to the ground. That's the date that if you add 1260 days, you get to this date. And then, as I said, around 6 April 2021, the dragon is being hurled to the ground, and Jupiter has just exited. Okay, let's continue from verse 10. Now, as I say, these verses are just a repeat. It doesn't say much. So verse 10, then I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah, which shows you it's Christ or Jesus. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters who accused them before our God day and night has been hurled down, as I have shown. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. As I've seen, the devil has gone down to the earth and the sea. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. Let's continue to verse 13. And when the dragon saw that it had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who has been given birth to the male child. So if I go back here, I just want to show you, it's just been hurled to the earth. Where is the woman currently? There's the woman. If I put on the earth again, you see she's still inside. You can't see her. So now, all I want to show you is that both constellations is now on the earth. So he's pursuing the woman on the earth now. That doesn't happen in the story, in the host, in the sky anymore. And as I said, you can only understand this if you do keep your time at 12 o'clock, which is clothed with the sun. As I said, that was the key. Because if you change the time around, you will see that every night all the constellations does go through. So it's very important when you do this that you try to keep as close as to understand everything as close to 12 o'clock as possible. Verse 14, the woman was given the 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she might fly to a place prepared for her in the wilderness, where she would be taken care of for a time, times, and half a time out of the serpent's reach. My own interpretation here is that the 2 wings of an eagle is to do with the protection that Israel is going to get from the United States. So now it says that the woman will be taken care of for basically another 3.5 years. So if we take the current date that we ended off last time, we add this, we get to Saturday the 17th of August 2024. So let's just go there. 2024 August and the 17th. Okay, and we're still around 12 o'clock. So now we're at the next date. So what happens next? Verse 15. Then from his mouth the serpent, so now it's talking about a serpent, spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and spew her away with the torrent. As I showed you earlier, the planet Mars is the main planet. It's got the most water of all the planets. I just want to show for interest that it seems the first beast are mostly the wars in the air. Okay, when it comes to the second beast, you will see if you go on, Taurus stays on the ground all the time. This is actually the highest place in heaven that it gets. Just go there to the 17th again. Okay, I want to go a couple of days back. So again, I've put now the other reason why I know this is correct, because at this date, look, Jupiter is again right there between the horns of the bull, and there is Mars, the planet of water. So let's follow Mars and put it to the center of our attention. Let's look, for instance, where is the woman currently? And you'll see there is the woman. So the line of the woman, if you look at Leo and Virgo, this is the line. You'll see now that this dragon is spitting water to the woman. But before I do that, so let's go a couple of days back, just follow Mars, see what happens, because it says it comes from its mouth. So here Mars is coming, the water planet is coming right wherever the mouth is of this constellation. And look how it's spitting Mars like a bullet right into the direction of the woman. What happens next? Okay, so verse 15 is talking about the spitting of the water. Let's say 16. But the earth helped the woman by opening its mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon has swept out of his mouth. So the earth helped the woman. So let's just see what happens. So if you go on, it's getting closer to the woman. It's on direct path being spit to take the woman, but then the earth comes, and again the horizon takes over around this date. As I said, about the 30th of October, you will see that Mars is getting taken over by the earth. And very interesting is that then Mars actually stopped going in that direction. It sort of goes a little bit higher and then starts stopping, stalling, or turn around. Okay, so let me just show you that. Let's take this off. I'll go now a couple of days. Look Mars, just make it the center again. Look what happens to Mars. That's the direction it was going. It suddenly goes there and it loses speed. But it's still way down now, below the earth, okay? Below the horizon. And then it just starts turning around and falling back because the earth has now swallowed Mars. Okay, so we've ended here on the date 30th October 2024 when Mars gets swallowed by the earth. So what does the last verse say in Revelation? Verse 17. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commandments and hold fast their testimony about Jesus. So I'm going to start here now and this date. We have ended last, and we're going to look at it waged war against the rest of her offspring. So we're going to look at Jupiter again and this constellation. At this moment, Mars is over there, just been swallowed by the Earth, or about to get swallowed. So let's now follow Jupiter. Let me just make it the center, and here we go. Now Jupiter is going back to the bull, and see how the bull is basically turning on its head again, like it's getting defeated maybe. And we're going to go to February, and basically it stops there again, and the moon is here again. So this is, I think, the lowest point. So yeah, so that is the whole Revelation 12, the last verse, verse 17. So what I would like to do next is go back to verse 3 and 4 that I've skipped earlier, and I would like to give my own interpretation about these verses. Let me just quickly read again. Then another sign appeared in the heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on each head. Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. So last year I got this revelation about the 7 heads and 10 horns, and I was looking at the international community of world powers, specifically at the Iran nuclear deal key details. And you'll see that Daniel 7 verse 24 says the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. So I just noticed in this picture that there are 10 kings. And then it says here the international community is implementing the landmark nuclear deal between Iran and the P5+1 group of world powers, which is the US, UK, France, China and Russia plus Germany. Notice how they put plus Germany here almost aside, and the same there, P5+1. And basically the Iran nuclear issue, Iran is back in business for now. Okay, so I'm going to read out Revelation 13, the beast out of the sea. And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns, which I now believe is in the international community, and 7 heads. Now here they give the 7 heads, as I said, Iran, US, UK, France, China, Russia plus Germany. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. So obviously it's Germany with World War II, and they've been healed now. Now, who is in the head of this organization from America? The man who seeks to police the Iran sanctions regime. As House approved bill targeting Iran nuclear deal goes to Senator Republican Steve Russell. So let's just see how things are going to pan out in this year 2017. So if you read here from Daniel 7 verse 8, while I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being, and the mouth that spoke boastfully. So I believe Revelation 13 from verse 11, the beast out of the sea, is directly to do with the Antichrist. So, and I believe he's going to be revealed in this year, 2017. So let's just read here. Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, which means he will be a religious person. But it spoke like a dragon. To speak like a dragon for me means he's going to have the breath of fire, which I believe is linked to the nuclear deal. It exercised all the authority of the first beast, which I believe is Islam, on its behalf, and it made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. So everyone's going to worship Islam, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. So I believe the Iran nuclear deal, which is supposed to stop nuclear activity, is going to cause nuclear fire to come down from heaven. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. Revelation 12, the woman and the dragon. So I'm going to read these verses again. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon. As I said, what else can be an enormous red dragon than a nuclear bomb that explodes? Its tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. I personally believe that this is giving us an indication from Israel. If you're going to stand in Israel and you're going to look up, you will see the sky. If you look left, you're going to see the sky. But when you look to your right, to the east, you will not see the sky because of the nuclear fallout. And then also it will be the only reason why the women have to fled into the wilderness. So let's just continue with the other verses that talks about this woman that has to flee into the wilderness. Matthew 24 verse 15. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation spoken through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. So as I said, I believe the Antichrist is going to stand in Jerusalem, maybe America is going to move their embassy right in Jerusalem, and then some guy is going to stand there and is going to try to resolve the current issues that the United Nations has just caused, to try to resolve the conflict. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetops goes down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. As I said, there's only one thing that can do this. Now, the heavenly bodies will be shaken. There's a reference here to Isaiah 13 verse 10, and this will give us the direction or indication where this will happen. So, but before I read this, I just want to show that Operation Babylon was a surprise Israel airstrike which destroyed the Iraqi nuclear reactor. This comes out of the news, obviously, from many years ago, and Israel called their airstrike Operation Babylon. Now, if you go read Isaiah 13, it talks about a prophecy against Babylon. The stars of heaven and their constellations will not show their light. The rising sun, very important, the rising sun, not the setting sun, so it will be the east side of Jerusalem. The rising sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will shake from its place at the wrath of the Lord Almighty in the day of his burning anger. So very interesting here, when this does happen, it is about the wrath of the Lord God Almighty. I just want to go back here to a scripture that I got on the 1st of September in 2016, Isaiah 32, the women of Jerusalem. Verse 9, the women who are so complacent, rise up and listen to me, you daughters who feel secure. Hear what I have to say. In a little more than a year. So when I got the scripture, I would say a little more than a year. It could easily indicate the 23rd of September 2017. You feel secure will tremble. The grape harvest will fail, and the harvest of fruit will not come. The forest will be abandoned, the noisy city deserted. And I believe this is going to be due to a nuclear fallout. So I would just like to put your attentions to Nostradamus' predictions for 2017. Conspiracy theorists believe that prophesier Nostradamus has predicted Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election. Nostradamus' predictions 2017 says Trump victory will lead to nuclear war that would bring chaos to the whole world. And I just would like to point out that last year I posted this video clip, Trump versus Clinton, Bible prophecy, and I ended it with saying that he will cause World War III. So it's very clear to me that Trump is going to be the fulfillment of end-time prophecies. Romans 13, submission of government authorities. Let everyone be subjected to the government authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. So even though I've said a lot of things about him and that he will start World War III, I believe Trump is doing exactly what he should be doing, because he's been appointed by God to bring end-time prophecies into fulfillment. I would also like to put your attention to the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2334 that was adopted on the 23rd of December 2016. And if I look at this, I mean, their purpose is to bring peace. And if you read here out of Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar's dream about a statue, you will see that each time you try to mix iron and clay, that it can't be mixed, and that it will just bring more conflict. And that's why I'm saying is that Trump has a big task ahead of him to try to fix this. And I'm pretty sure in this year 2017 you will see the Antichrist standing in Jerusalem, and it's going to be a man who's going to try to fix this conflict that United Nations has just caused between Israel and Palestine. And then will come in fulfillment where everyone says peace and safety, and then sudden destruction. And I suspect that to be happening around the 23rd of September 2017. I would also like to give my opinion here about the mark of the beast, and I believe the mark of the beast is nothing else than being registered a member of Islam. I just want to point out that if you read here that Islam have to register, you are forced by their law to register. So everyone who really belongs to Islam are registered by Islam. I would also like to read here out of Revelation 14. If anyone worship the beast and its image and receive its mark, there's a big talk about the mark of a beast, and that it will be an implementation of a chip in your hand and forehead. I just want to say I think that's old thinking. You don't need a chip in your hand and forehead. All you need is, as you can see, the new banks, they now use a retinal eye scanner. So basically that's why the Bible is talking about your hand and forehead. So most likely in the future, when you draw money, you're going to use your fingerprints, and it's going to do an eye scan. And all that the banks will have to do in the future when Islam is in control is to link your bank account to your electronically to your Islamic ID. So I believe there will be a financial crash, and that Islam will bail out the world. So because they have the oil and all the money, so basically they're going to supply the money when everything crashes, and then they're going to say, well, we're only going to give money to people who are registered with Islam. And that's why if you receive the Islam, if you're registered with Islam, you will be able to draw money, and else you will not be able to. And that is why it's going to be so hard for a rich man to enter heaven, because you will not be able to draw money without your Islamic ID. So I would just like to end this video clip again with what other people on the internet have said about the 23rd of September 2017. You can go to this website here. There are a number of notable events that align with this date. So September 21st, 22nd, 2017 is the Feast of Trumpets, or Jewish New Year. Okay, it's the 50th anniversary of the year of Jubilee for Jerusalem. 2017 is the 70th Jubilee since Exodus. In addition, the year 2017 marks year 5777 in the Jewish calendar. 5 is the number of grace, and the number 7 means perfection, and repeating 3 times it means completion. Therefore, the biblical numeric meaning of 5777 is perfect grace made complete, or the completion of the period of grace. And I believe God has called me to warn Israel and the world about this date. So lastly, I would just like to end this video clip with another sign in the stars, and I called it Laniakea, the sign of God's Son. And I will put a link to it below this video. I just believe this is another, if you read Luke 19 verse 40, I tell you, he replied, and this is Jesus saying, if you keep quiet, the stones will cry out. So I've just shown you how the stones is currently crying out that God is coming and that he has a son Jesus Christ. And this for me is another clip which I've put on YouTube to show the same thing. This is another that I want to show that the Perseus Pisces represents an image of the Son of God, and that you have a formation here that looks like a snake, and there's a great attractor there, and currently the Earth and the whole Milky Way galaxy, which is there, very, very small, is going to get pulled in by the snake. And if God doesn't intervene, there is no future for the human race. But God's hands is on the head of the snake. He's going to break it, and he's going to save the world, and he's going to pull his children into his body. I know this is sounding odd and weird, but as I say, I believe as the end is coming near, there will be more signs in the stars proclaiming the word of God. So thanks very much for watching this clip, and may God bless you. Cheers, bye.